Welcome to Kitty Talks. We share inspirational life stories that empower you to create yours. And today I have with you, this lady is going to blow your socks off. I have a lady called Jane Alton with us. Hi, Jane.
Hello.
Hello, all the way. Whereabouts are you today, Jane?
I'm in Kent. I live near Tunbridge in Kent.
So Jane has 20 years experience as a numerologist. And for those of you that don't know, numerology is a belief in the divine. It's a mystical relationship between numbers and one or more coinciding events. And Jane is going to tell us much more about numerology, but she is also a practicing Buddhist and has been a Buddhist for the last 25 years. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation, Jane. Thank you so much for joining us.
Because numerology does tie in with Buddhism quite a lot. The theory with numerology is we choose a unique set of circumstances to be born into, to learn what we need to learn to complete what we're here to do. So when we know what we're here to do, it can explain why certain situations keep coming up, why certain people in your world. Numerology is a wonderful way of sort of standing back from your life and looking at things in a completely different way. No judgment, no moralizing, just this is what it is. I do sort of life maps from 0 to 99, like a detailed weather forecast for your life.
Yep.
And you can sort of verify the years to date and see the patterns emerging. I also do relationship charts that show the impact of certain people in your world. If you've got children, there's a reason they've chosen you. If you're married, there's a mission that comes from that. If you're divorced, there's a mission that comes from that. And the relationship shows graphically the impact of significant dates and significant relationships. I also do a great deal of numerology for businesses, as I did with yourself. I get very involved with launch dates for businesses, names of businesses. I do the numerology with regard to the name of the business, the strap lines, etc. I do a relationship chart to show the impact of your business on your life, how your business can be a vehicle for you to complete what you're here to do, and also look at the relationships of the people who do the dynamics of the relationships of the team you're working with. I get very involved with recruitment. There's the dynamics of the existing team and the impact of adding another person. Basically, from a name and a date of birth, there's a huge amount of information generated. The one bit which is live, if you like, is your mission, but the rest is what you brought with you from past lives. So there's how the world sees you, your personality, your motivations, what opens doors for you, what brings everything together for you. If you've got certain lessons to learn, if you've got certain karmas to turn around. The family karma is quite a massive, this can be very interesting. So looking at your life and your business in a completely different way.
Yeah, and I really wanted to bring you on Kitty Talks, Jane, because I went and saw Jane's advice before I actually registered Kitty Talks. I knew what I wanted to do, but before I registered the actual incorporation date. And I was just catching up with Jane before we came on air, and I was saying to her that I've been listening to her readings and I've been going back, and now a lot of what she told me at the beginning is starting to make real sense. Mm-hmm. So Jane, you do obviously one-to-one sessions, you work with businesses. Mm-hmm. So, it's amazing. Like it's like a complete another world. But tell us how because I know 25 years ago you were in the corporate world. Is that right?
Yeah, I was in corporate world for 25 years. I was an investment performance analyst for 15 and a business analyst for 10. So I've always analysed numbers. Here I'm analysing numbers more in terms of energy and, in terms of people's lives. But yes, I've always analysed numbers. I've always been drawn to numbers. I find numbers fascinating.
And it's almost like the universe equipped you with it.
Yes, because there's a great deal of analysis involved with numerology. You get from a name of birth and a date of birth, there's just so much information generated. So it's looking at the patterns that emerge.
And how did you, obviously being an analyst or corporate analyst or an investment banking analyst, how did numerology first come into your life?
Well, it all started, it all came from the Buddhism, actually. I started practicing Buddhism. It's actually when my second child was born. It was one of the hardest times of my life. With Buddhism, we very much believe that when you make a shift inside, literally everything changes. And that was totally my experience. I was at such a low point in my life. I was completely running on empty, and I was trying to hold everything together at the same time. There's probably quite a few people who can relate to that.
Yeah.
And I just had to get myself together. And the Buddhism totally worked for me and made a huge, huge difference. And from that, I started healing. I started, just everything changed. I was still working in the corporate world, but there was a massive shift within myself.
And how did the Buddhism find you then, rather than the numerology? If the Buddhism came first, how did that?
Oh, the Buddhism definitely came first. Basically, I was running on empty, trying to hold everything together, and the Buddhism I practice is I'm a Nichiren Buddhism, Buddhist. So we chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, which we believe is the vibration of Buddhahood. By making this sound, you're changing how you vibrate and how the space around you vibrates. We believe it's the vibration of Buddhahood, putting it one with universal law. Buddhahood, that's wisdom, courage, compassion, life force. So we believe by making this vibration, Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, we're literally plugging into limitless wisdom, courage, compassion, life force. It's also cleansing your life at the deepest level. You're plugging into the 9th level of consciousness, which is below karma. Sort of cleansing your life at the deepest level, mitigating karma. It has a huge impact. You're suddenly in the right place at the right time. You feel in rhythm rather than all over the place. You feel supported and guided rather than you against the world type of thing. Just the chanting. We also, there's a huge amount of study involved. We also do something called Gongyo, which is chanting excerpts from the Lotus Sutra, which is a mixture of Sanskrit and Chinese Mandarin. So by English standards, it's a little bit bizarre to chant, but it literally changes how you vibrate and the space around you vibrates.
And how did you find it? Because it sounds like you were a bit
just someone at work actually could see I was struggling and I was at such a low point that I actually tried this chanting.
Right.
If anyone gets a chance to look at Tina Turner's life story, you'll see that she starts chanting at the lowest point when Ike is nearly killing her, sort of thing, and everything transforms for her. It's all about transformation. We very much believe that the negative can be transformed into something positive. It's all about transformation. Yeah. Think in a different way, and literally everything changes.
So you started doing numerology on the side initially?
Yeah, I mean, I had a Reiki Master who said to me, "You're here as a numerologist. Go and do this numerology course."
Wow!
So it was actually my Reiki Master who sent me off to do a numerology course, and that was it.
Just loved it. And
it just resonated at such a profound level, because I've always loved analysing, and I do love numbers, but this brought in such a profound spiritual aspect. And it also helped me to make sense of my personal journey, to understand my life in a completely different way. Because I've got in a very dark place because of a lot to do with my childhood, etc. And it's actually looking at that in a completely different way. My life changed again when I felt gratitude for a lot of what I'd experienced, rather than feeling in a very negative place because of it. So the Buddhism led to the numerology, and the numerology brought me back to the Buddhism in a way, but helped me understand my life in a completely different way. And that changes everything. Changed all the relationships, etc. Just feeling that gratitude, just suddenly I'm feeling that gratitude, but sort of feeling in your groove, just understanding things in a completely different way, connecting to something so huge.
Well, this is what we were talking about, wasn't it, before we came on air? And for those people listening, we were kind of saying that, one of the things that numerology can help you do, and obviously what we're trying to encourage people to do with these interviews, is get on their soul path.
Yes.
So you weren't, when the Reiki Master said to you before, you're a numerologist, and you started then doing what you're here to do. That's when
the minute you're doing what you're here to do, things truly fall into place. And it's just understanding why certain people in your world, why certain situations are coming up, and nothing happens by chance ever. So that person who you really don't like is actually there to teach you a certain lesson, or it's ultimately a reflection of something within yourself. Because we all experience, to a certain extent, patterns can keep repeating themselves.
Yeah.
Or we understand what the lesson to be learned there is. And, you know, there's a lot of people with a vested interest in us believing we've got no choice, but ultimately every single moment we have a choice. That button is pressed, off I go, but actually that button is pressed, actually I do have a choice in how I respond to this. You know, family karma, etc. Karma is just patterns of behaviour, and they can be changed. Not easily sometimes, but ultimately we do have a choice every moment.
So would you say, again, for people listening, obviously we're trying to encourage people to get on their soul paths, because once you've found what you're here to do and you're in alignment with what your soul wants you to do, then the synchronicities start to flow. But you're kind of saying that the karma comes from genetic patterning, comes from past lives, comes through the soul.
There's certain patterns of behaviour from past lives. The family karma is an example of that. And we have an opportunity in this lifetime to change a pattern that will otherwise go on forever, potentially.
Well, I remember you telling me that, because we were just talking about this before as well, that obviously I was a warrior in a past life. And now one of the things that Jane's really helped me with is I have to surrender. And in this lifetime, I have to let go and trust.
And work in a completely different way to a warrior. You know, a warrior, you know, it's about cooperative ventures in this lifetime and bringing out the best in people and working in more subtle ways. It's almost the opposite to the way a warrior operates. So that's a massive pattern to transform.
Yeah, but also having an awareness of it, which is what you've given me, is incredible, because I still fight it. My natural inclination is to just be like a bull in a china shop and make things happen.
Yeah.
And I can't with what I'm doing now.
I mean, we have free will. You can, but it's very frustrating. You won't always get the results you want. Whereas responding in a different way, things happen, different results happen. It takes you in a different direction potentially. We can get stuck repeating the same patterns of behaviour. We can find the same situation just keep coming up again and again and again. But it's recognising actually, you know, what the lesson is here, or actually what the universe wants me to be doing. We all have free will. We don't have to do what we're here to do, but when we are doing what we're here to do, things really flow.
And obviously numerology is something that our listeners can use to help them do that, isn't it?
I mean, if people are interested, I update every day in terms of numerology on Twitter, Facebook, on my blog. It's not aimed at anyone in particular. It's just my interpretation of the energies generated by, you know, today's date sort of thing. I get quite a few comments about that. I also teach numerology if people want to learn the foundation course, and then they can go on and do a diploma. But and there's a free numerology guide on my website as well, if people are interested, because everything comes down to vibration. Everything comes down to numbers. On the free numerology guide, I talk about 1 to 9, what the energies represent. And whatever you're doing in your life, whatever decision you're making, whatever process you're in the middle of, you will recognise the 1 to 9. The 1 is the initial idea, the fire, the passion. I'm going to do this. The 2 is weighing it up. The 3 is actually being creative with your ideas. The 4 is actually building something solid. The 5 is breaking out of that box, embracing change. The 6 is taking the responsibility. You know, the 7 is analysing it all. The 8 is knocking down, rebuilding, changing everything. And then ultimately you just let go, trust, and move on to the next situation.
And we're in a 1 year, aren't we?
This year, 28-10-1, the courage to be yourself. Who dares wins. Yeah, I mean, for instance, 2015 was a 26-8, which is Lord Karma. And on a planetary level, 2015, we witnessed a lot coming up to be transformed. I mean, there's a lot coming up to be transformed now, but particularly that year. So this year is about new beginnings. And next year is 29-11, which is bringing in the light, inspiring everyone to think in new ways.
So for people listening, like, this year is a good year to start.
Oh, yes.
Not your passion and purpose.
It's all about new beginnings. It's about who dares wins this year, very much so. So last year, for some people, you know, for a lot of people, it was endings. You know, it was a 9. So,
yeah, we saw that kind of.
Yeah, so there were quite a few endings, and there were quite a few people we lost. It was the end of a cycle, basically, and this is the beginning of a whole new cycle. It's quite an exciting time to be on the planet because there's such a shift in consciousness going on. So many people waking up at such a profound level, and of course, once you wake up, that's it. You don't go back. You know,
And what's your interpretation of the energy on the planet at the moment? Like, is the veil becoming thinner? Like, why are so many people waking up? Is it getting to a critical mass point?
There is a massive shift in consciousness going on. I truly believe 2024, well, we're heading towards a golden age, I believe. I mean, terrible things have always happened on this planet, but now it's on YouTube, it's in everyone's faces. And it's a negative way of waking up, but it is a wake-up call. People, massive shift in consciousness going on. So, people are waking up. People are, as I said, materialism has gone so far in one direction. People are looking in new directions, and on a planetary level, we have to be thinking in new ways very, very quickly.
And one of the things we again talked about before was, the whole idea of people tuning in to their creativity and what they're here to do sparks creativity.
Yes.
So that's again why the mission of Kitty Talks is to inspire a generation of change makers to follow.
Yeah. I mean, the younger generation have to sort it out. We're running out of time. So we have to be thinking in new ways very, very, very quickly. And I personally believe it's all coming up to be transformed.
Yes.
All the negative is it's getting quite polarized. The dark's getting darker, the light's getting lighter. But it's ultimately, in terms of Buddhism, you can't have a negative without a positive. In fact, the bigger the negative, the bigger the positive. You can't have.
That's Trump for me. Well, Trump's like a catalyst. He's the
massive wake up call. Massive wake up call. I mean, darkness is just the absence of light. It isn't actually anything. It's just the absence of light. The only way you can remove the dark is by bringing the light in. And enough people thinking in new ways, the critical mass, if you like. The massive corporations, etc. Waking up to the fact they have a new type of customer. A customer that asks questions, a customer that demands priorities. People do have enormous power. A lot of people want us to believe we haven't got that power, that we don't have a choice, we have to buy this, we have to look like this, etc. But ultimately we have that choice, and corporations and politicians potentially can wake up and realise they've got a new type of customer or a new type of client or a new type of voter. So there's great potential from people just thinking in whole new ways and being able to get into groups more easily and, for their voice to be heard.
Absolutely. And so how can, for someone listening to this, that they're listening to Kitty Talks because they're inspired by the conversations, they're inspired by the life stories like your own. What advice would you have for somebody who's struggling to kind of really know why they're here and how they can make a difference?
Obviously, have a look at your numerology. On the free numerology guide, you can actually work out what your mission is in this lifetime, and understand that the negative is coming up to be transformed. The one certainty is change. And if you're in a very negative situation, there will be positive in there. Just the fact you've got that seeking spirit and you're looking for, you want to become happy, you want to transform this into a positive situation. When the pupil is ready, the teacher will appear, sort of thing. There is so much sort of help out there if you're ready to think in whole new ways. Obviously, I'd recommend having your numbers done, but it's about trusting that inner voice. It's about stepping away from the drama and listening to that inner voice, not because we're bombarded with media, with so much on the outside telling us what we should be doing, or so much involved with image, so much that's actually not about the heart. Connecting with your inner voice, listening to that inner voice, going into the quiet. It could be gardening, going for a walk. Just listen to that inner voice. There is everything you need to make you happy is actually on the inside. I mean, I'd obviously recommend the chanting as well. If you could find a blank wall to look at and just repeat the phrase Nam Myoho Renge Kyo with your eyes open. Just doing that, you're plugging into limitless wisdom, courage, compassion, life force. And in time, to begin with, you're just focusing on trying to get Nam Myoho Renge Kyo right. But long term, you're you can repeat Nam-myoho-renge-kyo and have like a dialogue with the universe, what it is you want to happen. I want proof of this practice. I want X, Y, Z to happen. And you won't be disappointed. If you could do that 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening, you would not be disappointed. But the key thing is to step away from the drama, trust that inner voice, follow that inner voice, love that child inside, love who you are. Don't do this judgment thing or this got to look like this thing. And it's just, love changes everything ultimately. And it's stepping away from the drama, I think, is really important.
Absolutely. And it's really good advice that we encourage people to do that in Kitty Talks. Just go and get some me time and some space.
Yes, we have the most amazing wisdom within us if we just listen.
We are our own gurus. We're kind of
totally, and everything to make you happy is on the inside.
And you mentioned that you think we're going into a golden age. Can you expand a little bit? That sounds good. That sounds positive.
I just feel totally positive about things. I think young people get a very bad press. If anyone would ever come along to the youth division with regard to Buddhism, they would feel so positive about the future. Obviously, there are terrible things happening, but people are being empowered at such a profound level now with, information being available and able to get into groups. Everyone wants world peace, everyone. It's very critical that we've got a 2 at the front of the year now. We've had 1900 years with the 1 at the front. That basically meant for most of those 1900 years, everyone on the planet had a 1 energy, which is the fire, the passion, the unstoppable generator, which is great about making things happen. But we now have a 2 at the front of the year. And in about 100 years' time, or less than that, everyone on the planet will have a 2 in their chart. And that's a completely different energy. Whereas the 1 is all about fire and passion, the 2 is dominated by water. It's the diplomat, the facilitator, the coordinator, the peacemaker, working in subtle ways. The 2 is very aware of polarities and differences. And rather than being up the front there, it's working in subtle ways. Peace, literally the peacemaker. So we're witnessing already, new types of leaders emerging. There are, people like Jeremy Corbyn, etc. And in time, we'll have to have a new type of schooling system because everyone will have this 2 energy. People won't be so competitive. It will be about working in groups. The 2 is all about the diplomat, facilitator, coordinator, working in groups. The 2 doesn't want to be up the front. 2 wants to be, in the group. Hence the Brotherhood of Man emerging as well with the age of Aquarius. But that 2 at the front of the year touches everyone's lives. The 2 qualities, the diplomat, facilitator, the coordinator, working in subtle ways. Before long, that will be touching all our lives. The fact that everyone on the planet has this quality. We'll have new types of leaders emerging, new type of consumers. People won't be quite so competitive. It will be more about helping others, and people become a lot more aware of how others are feeling. And of course, technology helps that. The fact everyone has a voice. So I feel very positive.
Yeah, and I agree. I think technology is wonderful because now we've got a global. If you're connected, if you can get on the internet,
people are connected and they can understand each other's lives more easily. Connect with each other. They share their experiences. And people are traveling so much more. So there's not so much them and us sort of thing. There's much more of a sense of camaraderie. And we have got some terrible things happening. With the tsunamis, with the what's happening in America, etc. Okay, that's negative, but it's also the fact there's no such thing as an easy life. It doesn't exist. That's obviously sad on one level, but it's also the cement that holds us all together.
So is that a good thing, for people listening, is essentially that if they understand that, depending on the time and date that they were born, will depend on the mission and the karma and the genetic patterning that they will have come into clear.
Yeah, not just clear. It's not just about clearing karma. I mean, karma isn't a negative, doesn't have to be totally negative. It's it can be very positive as well. We've all got certain characteristics. We have a unique set of tools to complete our mission, if you like. Because with numerology, it's not just your date of birth, it's your name. I'm a twin, for example. So my twin sister has a complete, has the same mission as me, but has a completely different name and a completely different way of going about it. So the fact it's a name and a date of birth, we all ultimately have a unique bit of the puzzle to complete. And it just really helps to understand what that is.
So that's a good way for people to look at it, is that their name, their date of birth has given them a certain mission.
Again, it's stepping away from the drama and just looking at things in a completely different way.
Yes.
And quite objective. It's not, it's quite, it can be a little bit black and white, but it brings up a lot as well, a lot of other qualities as well. But
I have to, admit my own experience of, as soon as I have got onto the soul path, so to speak, or, things do just flow and things do just open up. And
it's clearing the misunderstandings, instead of, why is that certain person, what might seem like a ball and chain can become, a very positive thing. I always think with numerology, we carry stuff around with us. And numerology is like opening up that case and looking inside. And what may be perceived as a really negative situation or negative person or a ball and chain around our necks, it can be seen in a very positive way. Nothing happens by chance. So it's just looking at things in a different way.
Yeah, no, it's really nice way to look at things. And as I said, myself, it's been really helpful, like listening to the recordings back of, I think you were sort of saying about how the end of this year will change how we're doing things, and I'm already thinking how we can change and alter that. So yeah.
We always have decisions to make the whole time, and often we're making major decisions when we're completely exhausted or overwhelmed or in that dark place. And I do think with numerology you can make a more informed decision.
It's like a bit of a guiding post, isn't it? A signpost, or it just kind of supports your decision. It's not about taking the decision away from you, because I believe that we all have the answer.
Yeah, we all have free will at the end of the day, but to see a bigger picture always helps.
Yes, and like you said, it takes
to get past the why me, and to possibly understand the karma that's going on, or what you've done in past lives, or just have a completely different perspective to move away from the why me can really help. Because ultimately the universe wants us to complete what we're here to do, wants us to use our gifts. Everyone has the most amazing gifts, and we have challenges as well, but the universe wants us to complete what we're here to do ultimately.
And talk to me more about that, because what you're essentially saying is when we are on the soul path, or we're completing what we're supposed to do, we're supported almost. So the life gets
supported. You're doing what the universe wants you to do, so things can fall into place and make a bit more sense. And there's less fear. You're not making decisions based on fear all of the time. That was my experience beforehand. I was just, what do I fear most?
Well, and synchronicity is the other.
Yeah, you get to trust the flow, and sometimes things don't, because expectation causes a lot of suffering as well. And, you start to look at things in a different way. So, you want something to happen, and sometimes, it not happening, you look back and you realize you're protected by that not happening. If something doesn't work out, you get to understand why. You get to see why you're being sent in a different direction. You get to trust in the end, trust that hasn't worked out because you're actually meant to be doing this, or you're being sent in a different direction. In time, you get to realize you're being protected when things don't actually work exactly as you think they should.
Well, I've certainly seen that in the 65 interviews that I've done. Genuinely, like, a couple of interviews I've done where people were going the wrong direction. It was like the universe was shifting them back onto their path. And that actually, when they didn't get the lesson, it got bigger and bigger.
It gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you have to deal with it in some way. Yeah, that's certainly how it works. And when you do respond in a different way, that lesson can just disappear. It's just the universe. We like to think we're in charge, but there's something much bigger going on. And if the universe wants us to learn a certain lesson, there's certain situations that will keep coming up
until we handle them.
Until we learn that lesson. Yeah, it can be a bit humbling sometimes.
Absolutely, absolutely. So those of you listening, keep listening to these interviews, because these interviews will help you get on the right path quicker. By listening to other people's experiences, you'll recognize your own life. But I've got a couple of, sorry, Jake, go on.
I was just going to say the whole point is about being happy.
Yes, the universe wants us to be happy.
Yeah. Well, if we're happy, we can look after other people more easily. We're less likely to kill other people if we're actually in that happy place. Some people found me happy. It's quite hard to be nasty to others. It's quite hard to go and kill someone if you're actually in a very happy, contented space.
Well, I also think that life's meant to be simple and easy, but we overcomplicate it, and hence why we encourage people to just do what they love and what they enjoy, because then life starts.
When you bring love in, everything works. If you love your work, you love your children, you love your partner, or whatever. And it's ultimately that. I mean, the key relationship is with yourself. It's actually loving who you are. That's the most important relationship ever. And it sounds corny, but loving yourself changes everything. It's the most important relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for listening to Kitty Talks. Be sure to head over to our kittytalks.com website and become a member of our exclusive club, and you'll get free interviews and access to our private Facebook group, exclusive webinars and secret success interviews. See you there.